So what I'm going to do, I'm going to wait for all the good people who were on the old show waiting there to come over to here. I'm going to like print out words here on this, on my second pad here. And see who can come over here. That's yeah. This is exactly what's going on. Everyone, totally chaos. Totally chaos. That's the name of the show this morning. Totally chaos. New show. And maybe this will work, and maybe it won't. I don't know. And that's the beauty of doing this live. Hey, we got 2 people viewing. So this is the new show. This is the Disappointed Cat Morning Show. My name is Dr. Kennard. Complete implosion technically this morning, and it is 100% StreamYard's fault. Completely StreamYard's fault. It wasn't my fault. So here we go. Tobin. Hello, Tobin. How are you? So this isn't my fault. This isn't my fault. It's StreamYard's fault. It was StreamYard's fault. I had to I started streaming onto the 2 Facebook, the Laughing in Disbelief Facebook page and the the Atheist Comedy Burrito. And I realized it wasn't streaming to YouTube. I was watching this not streaming onto YouTube. And I'm going, oh my fictitious God, I have to think of something fast. And fess up, it's my fault. No, it's not my fault. It's StreamYard's fault. That's right, everyone. You can blame God, D Parks. You can blame God, right? You can blame God. So this is the beauty of doing a 1-person show, is that I can blame my engineer for doing this. I don't know. I don't know where my engineer is right now, but I can blame my producer too. Repeat all. Well, I didn't even get to the funny stuff, Scott Duke. I didn't even get there, because what happened is that I realized within a few seconds that this was not working out. That this was not working out at all. And so I went into panic mode. And I just closed everything out, started a whole new show. This is no longer streaming on Facebook. It's just right here. It's just us on YouTube. For the love of fictitious God, Andy. I know, right, Sammy? I only had 12 jobs to do. I'm not going to say I had one job. I would say I had 12 jobs to do, and I messed up the most important one. Because it doesn't matter how good the show is if it's not streaming, if no one's seeing it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if this is a great show chock full of interesting bits and comedy and news, because what do we cover? See, this is what we call a segue, everyone. A smooth segue. What are we talking about? More of Operation Mayhem, or would-be Operation Mayhem, Grinder Priest, COVID, and boycotting Pepsi, along with a few other videos we're doing. A few other videos. We should just, it's a Friday too, right, microphone? I can talk to you now. I could talk to the microphone. All right. Lee says, you know what Jesus said on the cross? Andy's show is live and streaming on YouTube. That's what he said. That's exactly what Jesus said. I saw it right in the good book. All right. We're going to try to do something funny.
I quarantined with my girlfriend up in Maine. Do you guys know Maine? State. I'll say this. The discrepancy between how much sex I thought we would have and how much we actually had reminds me of a Christmas from my childhood. where I asked my grandmother for a Lego Millennium Falcon, and instead, she passed away.
If that isn't comedy, a thinly veiled, not so thinly veiled, dead Nana joke right there. That's something to put a pep in your step on a Friday morning. I think I said hello to everyone already. Grinder Priest. That's right. That is actually the story. Blazing Wizard Pope. Grinder Priest. That's exactly it. Everyone, I'm glad that you were able to show up and follow me from this complete implosion of a show I had initially. Tobin, John Hudson, Dr. Mordecai D. Hope you're all doing this morning. What are you guys doing for this weekend? I know I'm going to go see some free Shakespeare out on the Boston Common. I like to tell people where I'm going to be, so in case anyone wants to attack me or assassinate, me, where I can be found. So I'm going to go to Boston Common. I'm going to check out a shortened version of The Tempest. All outdoors, of course. Should be safe, right? Should be. Scott Duke, good morning. Tesla Ranger. Hope you're doing well, Tesla. Remember Sammy Jenkins. I had more than one job. I have so many jobs. D Parks, Bonnie, Derry. Oh yeah, I think I'm saying hello to everyone. Yeah, Grinder Priest still. Just that was a good joke. Marmaduke Scarlet. That was a good joke. A simple misdirect, but he paced it out well. And just a little, minor film editing, a little close up at the end. He sold it. Sold that bit. John Hudson says tomorrow is pie and beer day. Oh, that's good. So for me, like I said, I'm going to go check out The Tempest. It is socially distanced. And so it should be a lot of fun, to tell you the truth. I'm also doing, and I can't tell anyone about this. This is just going to be between me and the 15 people watching right now. But I'm doing some super secret stuff tomorrow about the secret project that I've been talking about off and on over the past few weeks. So the secret project, it is moving forward. And so I'm going to be doing a meeting about that. But more on the secret project later on. All right, so let's do this Tesla Ranger. The reason I've been out for a week is that I broke my leg. You have internet, but no computer. Okay, so one, I want to say right now, Tesla Ranger, I'm sorry that you broke your leg. Now, Simply Secular Dave, okay, so many cool people to talk to. This is difficult. So, Tesla Ranger, I'm sorry about your leg. Was it, you need all the bones in your leg. Was it like, how did you do it? And did somehow you breaking your leg have anything to do with not having a computer? James Henry, how you doing? James Henry, you're in a floodable area, I believe. I know that Germany had a bunch of floods last week. I'm wondering if you got any flooding where you live. And Simply Secular Dave, yeah, that was the first show didn't go well. Dave had to pull the plug because it wasn't streaming on YouTube. Thank you, StreamYard. Dave sends me these interesting Twitter messages about his job and the death-defyingness of his job. Really fascinating stuff. All right. I got to do some memes. I got to move the show along, right? Because we're doing the after show, after party at 10 a.m. So I gotta, let's do some memes. Let's do some memes. It's not premarital sex if you never get married. Very nice, Fiona. Follow me for more biblical loopholes. Next meme. Classic Calvin and Hobbes. No Leviathan, though. No Leviathan. Here we go. So far, this has been a major disappointment. Well, maybe it has been a major disappointment. The show, or at least the first show, sure, right? And now the last meme, everyone. God, I shouldn't have made Adam. I should have just given Eve one regular hand and one penis hand. Now that, I like that. I shouldn't have made Adam. I should have just given Eve one regular hand and one penis hand. Actually, I'm going to tell a tale out of school. God actually approached me, I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago, like this God here, not the God, this God, and offered for me to do write some material for him. But I said no because the terms were not good enough. He actually offered to pay me too, but the money wasn't enough, and I just didn't want to actually do the job if the money wasn't, good enough, and it wasn't. So yeah, he did offer me a gig, but was not up to my high Dr. Kennard standards, everyone. Loopholes right there, Sammy, right? You got a loophole, man. You're not having premarital sex. It's just sex. James Henry says about the flooding in Holland. As far as I know, no deaths in Holland. In Germany, 170 people are still missing. Yes, I heard about that too. Sad. Though yesterday we took a look at some of the video from China, right? A year's worth of rain in 3 days. Crazy film footage from China showed yesterday. I can't put weight on my bad leg. I have to walk 3 times a day. Wow. I didn't. Wow. No computer access. So Tesla Ranger was in the hospital. Sorry to hear that, man. Sorry to hear that. All right. News story. We should actually pretend that this is some kind of news show, that we actually do some kind of insightful analysis on the news, and in case perhaps that you get a chuckle or you might learn something. Maybe you'll learn something, I don't know, or maybe you'll enjoy some content here. Please like the video, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. All right, let's just do this. Anti-fascist teens fooled a Kansas school board candidate into exposing his racist and white nationalist posts. Say that again. Anti-fascist teens fooled a Kansas school board candidate into exposing his racist and white nationalist posts. I'm going to show you the picture of the white nationalist and white, supremacist would-be school board member, and you're going to be like, yeah, this guy, I can see that. Here he is. Joshua Grant Wells. Look at him. He white nationalism, and with a heavy dose of maybe being inbred. And is that a mugshot from him being arrested? Yes, it is. I was going to say links are in the description, everyone, but if you looked at the last show, if there's no description in this video because I had to just, never mind, you already know why. But if you want to go for the links, it's in the last video on this channel. A group of anti-fascist teens tricked a man running for a local school board in Kansas to share his racist and white supremacist beliefs with them, and then later made them public, according to media reports. Teenage members of the Midwest Youth Liberation Front. The Midwest Youth Liberation Front. What an awesome name that is, right? My girlfriend's back, by the way. She's closing the door saying, I don't want to hear you, Andy Hall. But the Midwest Youth Liberation Front told the Kansas Reflector that they contacted Josh Wells, who's running for school board in Haven, Kansas, through Signal, after seeing his posts in a White Lives Matter forum. The group later shared messages and posts publicly on Twitter. So it turns out this fellow here, he's not very bright. I know you're all surprised at this. Not a very bright lad. In messages brought to light by teens, Wells identified himself as a Proud Boy leader, said he was a former member of the anti-government Three Percenters militia, promoted white supremacy, and pushed conspiracy theories about COVID-19 and the January 6th Capitol insurrection, the Reflector reported. Wells did not immediately respond to the insider's request for comment. After his messages were shared publicly on Twitter, Wells told the Wichita Eagle that he's not a racist. That just seems to be part of the racist handbook, isn't it? Say racist stuff and then say, I'm not a racist, though. Ignore the Klan hood. I'm not a racist. He added that he had no plans in dropping out of the school board race. Quote, I'm not dropping out of the school board race, and I'm not going to ask everyone to agree with me and my beliefs, but I will do what's right for our children and their futures, he told the Eagle. I will not go along with the superintendent or any of the administration feels I have to do. It's a school board meeting, not a superintendent/school board meeting. I will not be bullied or intimidated into voting on what they say. It's what's best for the kids and parents and not the administration. So that's some word salad that the racist, an idiot, just idiot said. And of course he wants to be on the school board, right? And yeah, checking out the chat here. Scott Duke. Yes, it is a simple equation, Scott Duke, and you nailed it. White lives matter equals racist. That's all there is to it. No calculator required. Tesla Ranger. I thought it was a D&D club. Hashtag Grand Wizard. Yeah. Viva Antifa, viva, indeed. And Scott Duke, thank you for the kind words. It's both informative and entertaining. All right. I think I'm caught up. Thanks, Betsy DeVos. Right. For all the people out there who are undereducated and underinformed, that this idiot here, he is their spokesperson. And if you really want to see the entire thread, I would suggest going on to Twitter and checking out Midwest Youth Liberation Front. I put them actually there. I followed them due to this story. And so I'm looking forward to their future work in the field of Antifa-ness. All right, what's the next story, everyone? Grindr Priest. Now, you may say, this is just another Grindr Priest story, Andy. I mean, the internet is filled with Grindr Priest stories, and of course, Grindr is the gay version of Tinder, right? Tinder, Grindr. There's nothing wrong with using Grindr. There's nothing wrong with using Tinder. But this is no ordinary Grindr Priest story, everyone. Catholic Monsignor, who wanted to deny Biden communion, resigns after cell phone links him to gay dating app. So as many of you know, the Conference of Bishops here in the States were talking about keeping Pelosi as well as Biden, making sure that they could not take communion because of their pro-choice stances. Well, it turns out, well, let's just get to the story. Recently, the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops voted to approve a document concerning the sacrament of communion. The measure would prevent politicians like Biden and Pelosi, who had voted to allow abortion rights, from receiving the Holy Sacrament. You mean they wouldn't be able to eat the body of Christ and drink his blood? Because let's remember, everyone here, let's take a step back. The official church doctrine, and there have been wars fought about this, is that the wafer actually becomes the physical body of Christ. The wine, it's transubstantiation. It isn't a symbolic thing, but it is Catholic doctrine that you are actually eating the flesh of Christ when you can devour the wafer and drink the wine. And that's nuts. I don't care where you're from. The General Secretary of the USCCB, Monsignor, I like saying that word, Jeffrey Burrell, read the voting results to the conference back in June. It's a work phone call. I can't take work phone calls when I'm doing the show, everyone. That's how dedicated I am. Let me continue. The General Secretary of the USCCB, Monsignor Jeffrey Burrell, read the voting results to the conference back in June. Burrell has now resigned from his position after cell phone data revealed that he used the gay dating app Grindr and regularly visits gay bars. Busted by technology. The allegations against Burrell were originally reported by The Pillar, a Catholic news service. The site reports a mobile device correlated to Burrell emitted app data signals from the location-based hookup app Grindr on a near daily basis. Wow, he was a busy boy. During parts of 2018, 2019, and 2020 at both his USCCB office and his USCCB-owned residence, as well as during USCCB meetings and events in other cities. So this Grindr priest, he's at a meeting, and he's like just checking out his Grindr app, just looking to see who's he can hook up with while he's talking anti-choice policies and anti-LGBTQ policies. Archbishop Jose Gomez, the USCCB president, confirmed the news, writing in a memo that the Monsignor resigned due to impending media reports alleging possible improper behavior. He continued, the conference takes all allegations of misconduct seriously and will pursue all appropriate steps to address them. So this guy, this bishop, this Burrell, he was using Grindr on a near daily basis. Very busy boy. Check out the chat. Scott Duke says, I will never eat a flesh wafer. How gross is that, right? A flesh. And haven't there been wars fought about transubstantiation and other kind of nonsense issues back in the Middle Ages? I believe so. I believe so. Oh, Dr. Mordecai, love is a many splendid thing. It is. What's up, B? Glad to see that you're here. You know, D, you raise a good point. Bet they still let him take communion. That's right. Well, of course, they would still let him take communion, right? He's only resigned from his position. He's not defrocked. You know? So, yeah, I would imagine that while the Council of Bishops want Biden and Pelosi not to take communion, they let this guy still take communion. Please, Banner. Eating body, zombies rule. Exactly. Check out what else is going on here in the chat. I wonder if you leave the church service with a taste of Jeebus in your mouth. Well, you know, here's the thing, Sammy, and tell me if I'm wrong, chat. First, you take the wafer and then you wash it down with the blood. So maybe you'd have some blood Jesus in your mouth. Maybe, perhaps. All right. James Henry, bold statement, sir, but I think spot on. All right. What are we doing here? What stories have we covered so far? Well, we talked about the white supremacists outed by a group of teenagers in Kansas. And of course, the white supremacist is running for a school committee position in a town. And then we talked about the Grindr priest. I think it's time for the halftime tummy rub show, everyone. It's a time where we sit back, center ourselves, have a laugh, before we go back into the news cycle, where we talk about, what are we doing after the show? I mean, after the halftime Tummy Rub show, we're going to be talking about COVID. And we're going to be talking about what? Pepsi and the evil of Pepsi Company, and how they're forcing people in warehouses to work quote unquote suicide shifts. It's crazy. It's another story. The fact that workers don't have any rights here, or very few rights here in the United States of America. But let's do something funny. If you find any value to this channel or the work that I do, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Let's do this thing.
Hey there, Mr. Walker, don't you be surprised when all your Oompa Loompas start getting unionized. I'd rather see that Candy Man put down in his grave than see another Oompa turn into a slave. It ain't no golden ticket inside no Walker bar. It's another Oompa Loompa with his union card.
Yeah, I would buy, not an album, not in CD, but I would download Oompa Loompa, the best Oompa Loompa union songs from the 1930s from that guy. I wouldn't have a problem with that whatsoever. Hilarious. Hilarious indeed. We'll check out the chat one more time. Yeah, well, he's got a very Woody Guthrie vibe, doesn't he? Right? He has a very Woody Guthrie vibe, Dr. Mordecai. Bringing it old school. All right, next story. Let's do the next story. COVID cases are surging, and it's not because of breakthrough infections. So the real question is that why do we talk about COVID so much? But on the other hand, it is a plague, right? And that's important. That's important to talk about, that it's a plague, and that it's a plague hitting the evangelical Christians. They are our arch nemesis, the evangelical Christians, white evangelical Christians. There's no doubt about it. They're the baddies. They are the baddies. And that's one of the reasons why we talk about it, because it's a freaking worldwide pandemic too, Microphone. Why are you asking me why we're always talking about COVID? That's not fair, Microphone. This is a real news story. It'd be like being in the Middle Ages and we're not talking about the Black Death, right? So there we go. That's why we talk. Here, I got a map. I got a map for everyone. I love maps. I loved maps when I was a kid. I still like looking at maps. I was looking at Dr. Josh's book, in The Atheist Guide to the Old Testament, and there was a map. There was a map of Mesopotamia with some of the city-states in there. Love looking at those kind of maps. But this is a COVID map of the United States of America. Here we go. Change in new COVID cases in the past week. So you got your increasing. Well, there's a lot of increasing. You got your decreasing, which I don't see anyone decreasing, actually. You got some people holding steady out there, out in the Rocky Mountain areas, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana. And even though, and in defense of Massachusetts, because as a person living in Somerville, sure, our cases are increasing, but they're still not high. So that is a quick map of how things are looking here in the States. Where it stands, nationwide, the average number of new cases per day was up 55% over the past week. New cases increased in 46 states, and many of those increases are substantial. Florida, of course it's Florida, is now averaging just under 6,500 new cases per day, by far the most of any state, and a 91% jump from the week before. 91% jump from the week before. And did you see, Microphone? Did you see the Governor DeSantis? He doesn't want a mask mandate for kids in school. Did you see that? Yeah. He is the COVID governor. You're right, Microphone. New cases more than doubled over the past week in Mississippi, from about 320 per day to about 660 per day. The state has one of the lowest vaccination rates in the country. Just 34 of its residents are fully vaccinated. And you're right, microphone. The thing is, even if you are fully vaccinated in Mississippi, because the virus is running rampant, there's a greater chance of you getting a breakthrough infection. You are completely correct. You are completely correct. You know this, and I'm going to show you a picture, actually. I was looking at possible head garments. This is probably the silliest thing I'm going to show you all day, everyone. But I heard yesterday on CNN that the Delta variant is as contagious as smallpox. I thought, wow, maybe I should get myself a space helmet, some kind of protection against the variant. And you can buy one of these beauties right here. It isn't even a helmet. It's more like, I don't know what this is. It looks crazy, right? It looks absolutely crazy. But it does look highly effective. And, I do have, I got a little bit of, I don't like being in closed spaces. I don't like being in closed spaces. And this, I think, is a majestic. This is a majestic anti-COVID. If you see me walking down the street with one of these, you can just assume I've just lost my freaking mind. I've just lost my mind. Or I'm a bit ahead of the curve. Maybe I'm just a little bit ahead of the curve. I don't know. We should get back to the regular news story. That's right. Oh, what's that, microphone? Have we said fuck Governor DeSantis yet? No, we haven't said that. That's thank you for saying fuck the governor of Florida. Breakthrough infections. People who have contracted the virus even after being vaccinated are getting a lot of attention as cases mount, but it is clear those infections are not the primary driver of this new surge in cases, and that vaccinated people are much, much safer than unvaccinated people. 97% of the people hospitalized for COVID-19 infections are unvaccinated. The CDC said last week that federal officials have previously said that about 99% of the people who die from the virus weren't vaccinated. 99%. Wow. That sounds what? What if you're like the 1% of the people who got vaccinated and then you die? Well, that's a really small number, microphone. You shouldn't be focusing on those things, right? I mean, I'm pretty healthy, aren't I? Should I be afraid? Well, maybe you should be, Andy. You're right. Well, I don't know. I'm just trying to hold it together. By the numbers, more than 160 million Americans are vaccinated. Of those 160 million, just 3,733 have subsequently been hospitalized for a severe COVID-19 infection, according to the CDC's most recent update, and 791 have died from the virus. So 791 people have died fully vaccinated from the virus. Maybe this doesn't seem that crazy, everyone. Is this crazy? Tell me if this is crazy. Tell me if me buying this is crazy. Because I think it's crazy right now. And I know that number is very small in comparison to 163 million, or what was the number? Let's look at the numbers again. 160 million people vaccinated and only 791 died from the virus. But that's, it still makes me think about buying one of these contraptions. All right, the story's not over. Let's continue. More evidence of the vaccine's effectiveness came out this week in a study, which has not yet been peer-reviewed, of healthcare workers in India. In the study, roughly 28,000 vaccinated healthcare workers, just 5% developed symptomatic infections after being vaccinated. Only 83 people had to be admitted to the hospital, and none died. Well, that's not peer-reviewed, right? So that's helpful. That makes me feel a bit better, but it's not. It doesn't ease my anxiety completely. 29 comments in the chat. Canadians. I like Canadians, right? Good morning, Kendra. How you doing? I'm glad that you found this show after the first show did not launch. It failed to launch. And so I cleverly put down this show, all in caps, new show. It could have been Dr. Kennard. It was StreamYard's fault. I keep saying StreamYard's fault. It's a big helmet, D. It's a really big helmet, right? It's like from, I don't know if you've ever seen Spaceballs. Dark Helmet there, the Mel Brooks movie. Happy Friday, imaginary God. Glad to see that you are here, DeSantis. Well, here it is. You know, Sammy, I feel that if I bought the huge device, the huge thing if I bought this and wore it, I would probably trip and fall and die from some kind of hilarious. I would die hilariously, partly due to that exoskeleton, whatever you want to call it. Fuck DeSantis all day, every day. Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny, Dr. Mordecai, a friend of mine who I sent the picture to, she said it looks like it's a baby carriage on someone's head. All right, I think I covered everything, right? I think I covered all the chat. And now what? What are we doing? What are we doing? What's the last story? Oh, fuck Pepsi too. I decided that we're going to start off the show with, exposing assholes. And then the last half of the show would just be fuck them, right? So the first story was, of course, fuck the people orchestrating, helping to make this pandemic even worse. Yeah, Governor DeSantis, I'm looking at you, telling people you can't put on, that there's no mask mandate in schools. And now it's fuck PepsiCo, fuck Frito-Lay's. Here we go, everyone. Striking to end suicide shifts, Frito-Lay workers ask people to drop the Doritos. Man, I really like the wavy party size chips there. I'm not a Pepsi drinker. I grew up watching the taste challenge, right? The Coke versus Pepsi taste challenge. That was all propaganda microphone. Did you read the Freakonomics piece in the original book, Freakonomics? You didn't? Well, let me tell you about the Pepsi challenge. It turns out that if you're only drinking this much Pepsi versus this much Coke, yeah, I'm putting a little synopsis here on the entire chapter in Freakonomics. If you're only drinking this much Pepsi and this much Coke, then people will choose Pepsi. However, if you have a regular size can or glass of Coke versus Pepsi, people will choose Coke over Pepsi. Interesting. I know. Hundreds of Frito-Lay workers in Topeka, Kansas, oh man, another Kansas story, are in their third week of strike, citing so-called suicide shifts and poor working conditions at the manufacturing and distribution plant at a time when the company's net revenue growth has exceeded all of its targets. What? Are you telling me the company has made like money hand over fist and yet they're still screwing over workers? Is that possible here in the United States of America? How is that? That just seems to be normal. Employees say sweltering 90-degree temperatures on the picket line are preferable to the 100-degree plus heat that awaits them inside the manufacturing warehouse on any given summer day. They're demanding an end to mandatory overtime and 84-hour weeks that they argue leaves little room for a meaningful quality of life. They're also seeking raises that match cost of living increases. I'm looking for a job right now, right? I've talked about this, and there've been a couple of jobs I've been in interviews, and they're like, "Well, we expect you to work every weekend." It's like, well, I'm not doing that. There's this work-life balance, and I'm not going to be your wage slave. I didn't say that directly to them, but I said, I pretty much made that point. It's like, I'm not working every other weekend. Thank you anyway. Next slide. Meanwhile, workers say they want more concessions before heading back into the factory. They've also called for a national boycott on Frito-Lay products, as well as those produced by PepsiCo for the remainder of the strike. If successful, the boycott would mean living in a world without Doritos, Cheetos, Fritos, Tostitos, and Sun Chips temporarily, at least. I'm okay with that. I live in a chip heavy culture. There are an entire aisle in the local supermarket dedicated to chips. And sure, there's a lot of Frito-Lay products, but there's a lot of non-Frito-Lay products too. A call to end suicide shifts. One of the most contentious issues throughout the bargaining process, according to union leaders, has been the regular use of forced overtime at a plant that results in so-called suicide shifts. Many of the more than 800 workers at the plant are only getting an 8-hour break between shifts. NPR was unable. Let's look at this again. An 8-hour break between shifts. So if you're working mandatory overtime, they're telling you, well, you can go home for 8 hours, catch a nap, and then come back and do another double or work another shift. NPR was unable to reach union officials, but Local 218 Chief Steward Paul Clem on Monday described how it worked in a podcast interview on Monday. He said workers who clock in for 7 to 3 p.m. shift are often forced to work 4 hours of overtime. Then the company will turn you right around and bring you in at 3 o'clock in the morning. So you have only 8 hours to get home, shower, see your family, get some sleep, and get back to work. Yeah, so I don't have a free, I mean, you might be surprised at this body here that you would think that I have a Frito heavy body. I have a Frito heavy body, at least chip heavy, right? But yeah, it's just something. I want to keep an eye on the story. Hopefully the union will get what it wants. The end of suicide shifts. It's so crazy. It's so, when you start making the words with your mouth, like there's no such thing as a talking snake. The wafer does not turn into Jesus's flesh in communion during the sacrament of communion. And the fact that, hey, suicide shifts are wrong. That's the kind of crazy world we live in, everyone. Checking out the chat. John Hudson says, a man fell to the floor dead while working at Frito-Lay in Texas. They pulled the body away and proceeded with production. Sure they would, right? Right. The chips must go on. Well, more hospital workers and psychologists commit suicide than these factory workers, right? It's not a question of whether we focus on this or that, but both, both professions are overworked, right? I mean, you talked about hospital workers, psychologists, not enough work protections there, not enough support, not enough, 40 hours of doing therapy, right? If you're a psychologist doing 40 hours work of therapy, that's a hard lift right there. And so the question is, of course, universal worker protections across the board. B says, I used to pick up at those warehouses. None of the drink warehouses have air conditioning or heat, which seems barbaric, right? I mean, here's another theme. I like to talk about the themes of this show and of this channel. Is that in another 100 years or so, if we survive as a species, we will be looked back. If things progress, right, then we're going to look like a bunch of freaking barbarians. That, just as the way that we look back at people in the 1800s at worker conditions, at how we treat the mentally ill, how, workers were treated, we're going to be thinking, wow, there are people will be looking in the future at us like we're barbarians. All right. So let us get to, what are we going to do? We're going to put a bow on this show, everyone. We're going to do the after party after show at 10 a.m. If you want to pop in, go ahead. The link was in the description in the first version of the show. If you go on the channel, well, you are on the channel. You can check out the video, and there's a link to be on the panel too, if you want to come on. So let's drop something funny, something comical.
The most dangerous animal on this planet. A violent creature filled with hateful thoughts and a lust for blood. teeth like razors to suck the meat from your bone. Yes, when all is said and done, she is a killer.
A killer. There we go. So thank you for watching. If you found any value in this, whatever we do here, any value, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. There's no ads. There's no ads on this video or any of the videos from the last couple of weeks. All the videos going forward, completely, no ads. I could put ads on, but I hate ads. I hate watching ads when I'm on other channels. So this is basically fun, viewer supported. So if you find value, if you find yourself stopping by, and if you can afford to, because if you cannot afford to be a supporter, if you can't afford to be a YouTube member and a patron, please do not contribute, right? This is a tough work environment here. A lot of people are just squeaking to get by, and I understand that. So thank you. Is that just a really long and complicated way of saying thank you? I think that was. Two last notes that I forgot to put in. One, filmmaker Joe Badon, who's been on the channel, he did a great Best Advice Ever episode. He reached his Kickstarter goal of $20,000 for his new movie, right? So, I mean, Joe's pretty remarkable. He has this crazy artistic vision. He was a minister, a holy roller minister, reverend for 12 years before he woke up. And he creates these great cinematic, weird pieces. And yeah, he was able to raise $20,000 for his newest project on Kickstarter. Good for him. And also, I was watching Reverend Jimmy Lou, Reverend Brother Heathen. Reverend Brother Heathen. He does a show with Skids the Clown, Trent, on Thursdays at, I think it was 9 o'clock. And I saw that yesterday. And I have to tell you, they are doing really good work. The production value is very high. Jim and Trent, they have Skids Clown. They have a great chemistry there. And so if you're not doing anything on Thursdays at 8 p.m., check out their show. It's Faith Not Required. It's a comedy show. It's a new show. A lot of funny bits in it, everyone. And so check that out. I'm going to check out the comments one last time. Well, it's autocracy on steroids. You read about that, James Henry. Let's see. Check out the chat one more time. All right, I think I got everything. Merch idea, I'm a proud Canardian. Not bad. Maybe there's a duck involved. I don't know. Oh, interesting, John Hudson. Dave, my son-in-law, is a union electrician, came back from a meeting on Saturday and said no Frito-Lay in his house until they fix the issue there, until the union comes to and the union and Frito-Lay comes to an agreement. Good for you and good for them. Good for them. All right, 10 a.m. It's the after party, after show. You want to be on the panel? There's going to be a link in the next show. There's a link in the previous show. I'll see you then, and thanks, everyone.